vinyl community. It's Craig with the Vinyl Record Player. Today I'm going to talk about 5 one-offs in the collection, which likely will remain one-offs, but on the other hand, they're all really good records. You may want to stick around and check them out. All right, so we're back. Let's just kick right into it here. First, we'll talk about 1973's self-titled LP by Betty Davis. It's a record I've had for like a long time. I think this is a re-release on Just Sunshine Records. But anyway, give you a little bit of a brief backgrounder on Betty Davis. Basically, she was a model and a singer and ended up being married to Miles Davis. As a matter of fact, for all the jazz people out there, apparently she was on the cover of Miles Davis' 68 classic, or not, haven't heard the album, Fille de Kilimanjaro. Anyway, they got married. They had a super short marriage, it was a year, 2 years or something like that, as happens in show business. But anyway, she had a hard funk career happening in the mid-70s, starting with this LP. Apparently her plan was, she'd done some modeling in England. Her plan was to go back to LA and do some work with Santana, possibly singing. Instead, she ends up hooking up with Greg Errico, who was with the Sly and the Family Stone at that point. Greg's like, no, man, you need to just record your own stuff. And he produces this record, hard funk. This is no joke. This is kind of like, I would say probably like one of the preludes to, or one of the deep influences of your Little Kims or your Foxy Browns, your tough, hungry ladies. You know what I'm saying? Like the rappers in the 90s where they're like, hey, I get what I want type of thing. She was doing it in 73, and I think her records get progressively harder and lustier, etc., etc. This album has got such classic tracks as If I'm in Luck, I Might Get Picked Up. Nice. Your Man, My Man. Hey ladies. Of course, then there's Game is My Middle Name. Anyway, this is a record it's not the easiest listen. Smooth, it is not. But it's, like I say, if you're into hard funk and kind of Take No Prisoners type of jams, Betty Davis from 1973, it's a good one. Check it out. This is Link Wray from 1971. This would be his, I don't know, it could be like his 10th or 12th album. Link Wray, of course, very famous for his original rock and roll classic, which was called Rumble in the 50s, to the point where it was just basically, everyone's heard Rumble before, but YouTube it if you're a youngster and you don't know Rumble. A bit of a classic. A lot of famous musicians in the 60s were like, oh, Link Wray was my man. Pete Townsend certainly kind of talks about that record as a very big influence on him. But this is a different period, and this is different Link Wray. This would be him recording at Ray's 3-track shack, which was basically, he had a 3-track recorder. He had he basically had a farm, and he had a 3-track recorder in a little farmhouse kind of in the back, and they just recorded. And anyway, great album. This is not his normal rockin' heavy instrumentals, a lot of distortion. This is more of a country rock record, but it's kind of more than that. It's really rootsy. I think if you like stuff like The Band and stuff like that, I mean, you probably would like that. But if you like country rock at all, you probably will like this too. Key tracks on this one, La Di Da. That's just it's a bammer. Apparently this, in the 3-track shack, they had a piano that was deeply out of tune. So instead of being well, let's get the piano tuned, they tuned all their instruments so that they matched the out of tuneness with the piano, which I'm genius in a kind of roundabout way, I guess. But anyway, this whole LP is really good. Fire and Brimstone is another kind of more well-known song. But yeah, if you can't, you gotta like you gotta really YouTube the song La Di Da, if only for the intro, which is like, and then it just explodes into this rollicking. It's amazing. Really good album. Of course, he's sort of celebrating his Native American heritage on this. Some great pictures on the back of him and his crew. It's got a nice gatefold. This may just have been for the re-release, but that's the 3-track Shack. And there, of course, is again another shot of him. Really great album. If you see this one, this is like a repress. I think I got this for about $20 or $30, but at the time I was deeply into country rock, and this is probably one of the best country rock albums that I actually ended up buying. On a similar country rock tip, here's "Bustin' Out" by Pure Prairie League. Pretty good stuff. These guys were, I think they were from Ohio, and basically like, you know, they were kind of plugging in the early 70s, late 60s. Not much really happened. Then a single from this album somehow started getting some play in about 75. The song was called Amy, which is a bit of a classic, at least in country rock circles, I guess. But this whole album is actually pretty good. Early Morning Riser is a fantastic jam. Amy is good. Falling In and Out of Love is like kind of Amy, and Falling in and Out of Love are like a part 1 and part 2 almost on this album. Anyway, really good one. I don't know beyond this, because basically what happened was the lead singer who sang on all of these tracks, Craig Fuller, he actually was a conscientious objector, ended up spending like 6 months in jail for like dodging the draft, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, inevitably, he ended up getting a pardon from President Ford or something like that. But anyway, good album, worth a pickup. This, you should be able to find this for pretty cheap. This is pretty widely available. It did go gold in the US, so yeah, good record. After this, though, a young Vince Gill, for country rock or country music enthusiasts, did actually become their lead singer. I don't know any of the material from that era, but this, like I say, really good album. I believe this is from '72 originally, but I think they re-released it in '75 when things started to pick up. This is the only Julie London record I have in my collection. Although really good stuff, really torchy, really kind of smoky voice, kind of spare orchestrations. Really kind of romantic, jams. Fly Me to the Moon is on this. The best one on this jam, the key track, is clearly, in my opinion, Chances Are, which is just like, it's a stunner. Really good. I Left My Heart in San Francisco, on the Liberty label from 1963. Julie London's good to have. Even if that's not your normal bag. She has a charisma about her. Real great sort of torch singer stuff, and great sort of Sunday record or chillin' sort of record. Okay, and last we have, but not least, of course, we have Tommy James and the Shondells. Crimson and Clover on the Roulette label from, I believe, 68 or 69, but probably 68 is what I'm thinking, if I recall from my obviously not that complete research. Anyway, good record. Crystal Blue Persuasion was the other hit on this, went to number 2. The title track, of course, went to number 1. Oddly enough, the radio stations were like, hey, could you make a longer version? So they must have released initially like a 2 or 3 minute version, and then they were like, radio stations were like, hey, that could have been an FM radio request, as I'm sure that, they wanted to play like longer kind of psychedelic tracks. This fits in. Not a big Tommy James fan or anything, but I think if you are getting into him, this is certainly, you can't go wrong, certainly with Crimson and Clover, which is, obviously a classic. Rest of the album is pretty good, but yeah, good cover, etc., etc. So yeah, so that about wraps up the 5 one-offs in my collection. I'm not really sure that I will pursue very many additional albums by these artists, but I can tell you all of these albums are very good and also in a lot of cases very viable. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, the whole bit. Let me know if you got some one-offs that might be surprising and that maybe I might want to take a look into. Yeah, otherwise we'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.